Robin Schiller, this is one of the most horrific incidents we can recall on the roads. But will you take us back to the early hours of Sunday morning and how events unfolded?
Yeah, so this all traces back to around 2 o'clock in the early hours of Sunday morning when the BMW, the black BMW saloon car involved, was stolen during the course of a burglary in County Carlow. Now, that car had a number of male occupants on board. It made its way to Athy in County Kildare, where there were a number of reported attempted break-ins of properties and cars. Later on that morning, it made its way to Kilcullen, a little bit more north of Kildare. During its kind of, spinning around there, it came to the attention of gardaí who were notified that it was suspected of involvement in that burglary in Carlow. There was a brief interaction, some sort of a pursuit, not exactly a high-speed chase, but gardaí were certainly attempting to follow that BMW. And what's normally the case in these instances involving young lads, they made their way the wrong way down the motorway, and that Garda unit was immediately told to stop their pursuit. For around 15, 20 minutes, then that BMW was making its way up and down the motorway, the M9 motorway, in some cases the correct way, in other cases the incorrect way. And then shortly after 3 o'clock, between Junction 3 and Junction 4, near Moone in County Kildare, you have this high speed collision where the BMW travelling the wrong way down the motorway collides with a Hyundai carrying four members of the same family who were going the correct way along the motorway and making their way to Dublin Airport.
Yeah, so it's a head-on collision right in the middle of the motorway as a result of this BMW saloon being driven down the wrong way. So your point is though that it wasn't just a case of the BMW comes down the slip road, going the wrong way down the motorway. They'd been going up and down between exits for the previous about 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, there is a substantial period of time. You're talking about 15, at least 15 minutes, if not 20 minutes, in between that pursuit being stood down
Mm.
effectively and the collision actually happened. And what you have in the meantime, it appears to be that BMW, it's making its way up and down the motorway system, incorrect in some ways, correct in other ways, before that collision occurs.
Okay, so potentially trying to evade the Gardaí or figure out where they were going to next. Talk to me then about the outcome of the collision.
Yeah, so as you can imagine, two cars driving head on, even the Hyundai, which was obviously going the correct speed limit in the correct direction,
Mm.
colliding with a vehicle coming the opposite direction. It's a high impact head on collision. So you have motorists passing by who see what's happened. They, alert the emergency services. Guardian paramedics are called. They treat the four occupants of that Hyundai car. The two front seat passengers were women in their 30s, and they were brought to Tala University Hospital where they were in a critical condition initially. The rear seat passenger, a woman in her 20s, was taken to St. Luke's General Hospital in Kilkenny, and a 7-year-old boy who was also in the rear seat was taken to Children's Health Ireland, Crumlin, where he was also treated for serious injuries. There was examinations carried out of the BMW. Four teenagers were the suburban in the car initially, and they were pronounced dead straight away. It wasn't until late on Sunday afternoon where further examinations were carried out of the scene, and they discovered a fifth male teenager deceased at that site. So it shows, the wreckage here, the significant damage caused. Without getting too graphic, if you look at, scene pictures published in media outlets, including our own over the weekend, that one of the Garda tents, or the tents where Garda were focusing their inquiries, which is cordoned off, it was located on the far side of the other southbound lane. So it shows the wide range of debris here, which is obviously consistent with that high velocity head on impact.
So, Robin, we're obviously on one of the busiest roads in the country. Even at that hour of the morning, you're going to have a lot of traffic on it. So, this is the problem. If somebody's going to deliberately drive down the wrong way down a motorway, there is a strong chance something like this is going to happen.
Yeah, massively. We've seen that twice now in the last
Mm.
week. The traffic volumes will be certainly reduced, but there's always people driving on the motorway at all hours of the day for different reasons.
Yeah.
Now, last Sunday, the previous Sunday in Dublin, we saw, at 5:30 in the morning, a similar collision. Young lads in the car driving the wrong way down the M50. A man in his 20s was making his way to work and they crashed head on into him. Now, thankfully, he avoided serious injury and eight of those juveniles were hospitalised, but there was no fatalities. Roll on to what happened Sunday morning, the early hours of Sunday morning. You have a family on their way to Dublin Airport, making their way to the UK for a family wedding. Happy event. They're
Mm.
surely no doubt looking forward to it. In the early hours traveling to the airport, and then you have the situation where completely reckless teenagers, out for spins, stealing cars, carrying out burglaries, decide that they want to play a game of Russian roulette and end up crashing head on and causing serious injuries to innocent road users, and also leading to fatal consequences for themselves.
Yeah, and as you say, those four members of that family in the Hyundai, that's what people do normally. If you live, I suppose, within an hour or two of Dublin, you'll tend to drive up to the airport. If you have an early morning flight, you'll head off early and travel up. That appears to be what was happening here. So perfectly normal circumstances, and obviously you're of the belief you're driving on the motorway at that hour of the morning. Traffic is obviously not as busy as it would be during peak times during the day, but there's still plenty of traffic on it in order to get up safely to Dublin, and then suddenly out of nowhere, a BMW saloon is coming head on towards you, an utterly frightening prospect. And Robin, can you talk to me then about the five teenagers who were killed in the BMW? Do we know who they are and where they're from at this stage?
Yeah, so given I suppose, the wreckage at the site, it took quite a bit of time to identify those individuals, but they have since been formally identified by Gardaí, or at least they're satisfied with their identities pending the completion of those post-mortem examinations. And they've been named as Alex McCarthy, 17-year-old, his cousin Jeremy O'Brien, an 18-year-old, both from Carlow, Jack Kennedy, a 17-year-old from Athy in County Kildare, Joe Carthy, a 15-year-old from Athy in County Kildare, and Kamil Pustkowski, a 17-year-old with the last known address in Limerick. So all young teenagers, aged between the ages of 15 and 18. And certainly two or three of them, Kamil Pustkowski and Jack Kennedy, would have more recently been, on the Garda radar for similar crimes, like what happened Sunday morning, for unauthorised takings of cars, dangerous driving incidents, posting videos on social media of their crimes, and effectively just being involved in this kind of behaviour in recent weeks and months.
Yeah, the point, it was emerging fairly fast on Sunday evening that some of the occupants had been involved in criminal activity before. References to a lucky dip gang. Explain what that means.
Yeah, so the Lucky Dip Gang has been this kind of organisation that's been in existence for the last 2 or 3 years. It's a fluid mixture of young lads, mainly teenagers, but also older criminals, aged in their 20s, sometimes in their 30s, who basically go around robbing cars, in some instances just for fun, for the thrill of it, to post on social media, and in some instances try sell the cars on, normally unsuccessful, for money. What began, I suppose, as a smaller gang of around 20 or 30 individuals has really spread, and there's now a lot of different offshoot groups of these teenagers involved in criminality. And while they're mainly located in the Dublin region, they have branched out and they have associates in the Carlow area and other parts of Leinster that are involved in criminality on what is effectively becoming and has become a nightly basis.
So obviously the young age of of these guys will be striking straight away for people. Their lives ahead of them, and yet they decided to engage in this practice with these fatal consequences. What are the rules of engagement here for the Gardaí when they come across a car like this? Because your point earlier was there was an interaction with Gardaí, and we'll get the full details of the investigation at a later point, but it does appear that the Gardaí were attempting to stop this car, but had to call off that pursuit. What are the rules here for Gardaí when they identify a car like this?
Of the rules of engagement, they're not quite clear, which has been a real frustration for Gardaí on the ground, and rank and file Gardaí in particular. So in late 2024, a new policy document on what is called spontaneous pursuits was launched. And I made reference to gardaí who are trained pursuit drivers and gardaí who are trained pursuit controllers who sit in command and control rooms and oversee these, pursuits. That they are trained to do that. The DRA said at the time, have since said it just doesn't exist. That's not a thing in Garda Síochána. So while with the best will in the world, they tried to bring some kind of clarity to pursuits and the issue of chasing down young criminals driving off at speeds, it made the situation even more confusing for people. So you have a situation where you're meant to have trained pursuit drivers and trained pursuit controllers. It's not a thing. It's up to each guard individually on the ground to make their own decision, use the decision making model in extremely dynamic and fluid situations to decide if it's in the public safety and in their own interest to engage in these sort of pursuits and attempt to bring a vehicle to a stop. There's also been concerns about the eagerness, some rank and file Gardaí would allege, of controllers to stand down pursuits before they even have a chance to properly engage. And this is leading, they say, to perception that Gardaí are simply, sitting back and letting criminals run rampant on the motorways of Ireland and the streets and the roads around the area. That's not the case. They certainly want to and do their best in what they can to try bring these pursuits and bring these criminals to an end, but their hands are tied in some cases. And there's also a fear, an overriding fear of, overzealous, overarching oversight, fear of being disciplined internally, fears of being prosecuted. There's been a recent high-profile example of a guard being prosecuted for allegedly engaging in dangerous driving over a high-profile pursuit. That fear is, very much at the back of Gardaí's minds that they could end up in the dock for simply trying to do their job and trying to protect the public.
So they're in this catch-22 situation where the Gardaí are trying to protect the public from individuals who are driving cars erratically, speedily, dangerously, and at the same time they're cognizant that by pursuing them, this may in its own way put the public in danger, but they're also not clear of the rules that they can engage in themselves. So is the view then that this ambiguity is an awareness factor for the people who are engaging in this activity? They literally know, if I drive the wrong way down a motorway, the guard isn't going to chase after me.
Oh yeah, they're very well aware of that. They read media reports. They know exactly what the guards can and can't do or won't and will not do. That even goes to normal pursuits. We'll get to contra pursuits in a second. But even on a normal pursuit and normal roadway going the right way, they know that there is a reluctance of Gardaí if they engage in extremely serious and dangerous driving, that they'll be told to slow down. The issue of, I suppose, going down a motorway is a bit different. It is, and I think most people accept that. I don't really want to see Gardaí driving the wrong way down motorways at every opportunity to try pursue these criminals. It is allowed in their policy, if there are, efforts in place and there's a capacity to bring a disability or disable a suspect vehicle in a very short period of time, then contra pursuits should be allowed go ahead. But in most cases, they're told to simply stand down, and that's for good reason. I don't think anyone wants to see a situation where Gardaí are, every night going the wrong way down motorways to stop these people. The real, what people I've spoken of say is that stopping it at source, stopping it from getting to that situation is really what needs to happen. A more robust approach needs to be taken. There needs to be more support and management. That Gardaí are confident that if they do decide to robustly stop and pursue and contain these vehicles using what's called tactical approaches, a hard stop effectively, that they're supported and they don't face risk of being disciplined internally or potentially even prosecution in a criminal court of law.
Yeah, so tactics that the Gardaí could employ would include, I suppose, trying to box in the car, trying to force them off the road. If they can get ahead of them, presumably a sort of a stinger device to disable the car. But you're talking about high speed cars here and people engaging in erratic driving. It's a really difficult one, isn't it?
Yeah, look, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't in some ways. Like, this is what happened on Sunday morning. It's kind of evident what happens when you can't do anything. The
Mm.
symptom of doing nothing. You still have extreme dangerous behaviour leading to fatalities and serious injury. Like, I don't think Gardaí want to be able to just stop any vehicle or all vehicles at any cost, but there has to be some kind of balance of, right, some vehicles you have to let go because it's simply too dangerous. It's not in the public interest. But then a lot more has to be done in other cases where you can use legitimate force and legitimate measures to try stop a vehicle, speeding car with young lads in it before it gets to an even more dangerous situation.
The response from the Gardaí as well, apart from rank and file expressing frustration about the limitations on their operational abilities, resources, and training. You also though had Garda management. Also, you can sense a frustration there. The Garda commissioner issuing a very strong statement where he said a lot of things, and he also did seem to deliberately not say a lot of things. What did you make of that statement from him?
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting statement and strong in some ways. And as he said there, stuff he omitted in his comments. He made sure to express his condolences to the injured family who were hospitalised as a result of this incident. He made no mention of his, sympathies to deceased people in this, the young lads in this, which is very pointed. It shows, the view of Garda management, senior Garda leadership of, the plight people like this have become on society, where they're recklessly driving along the roads every single night. And he said it is reckless, it happens far too often. He said it should be self-evident, but what makes it more reckless and even more appalling is that in some cases it's being done for social media likes, regardless of the potentially devastating impact it might have on innocent people and themselves. So there is a frustration from the very bottom to the very top about this activity. And there, is a general feeling that more needs to be done. And in fairness to the Garda Commissioner, he's spoken himself about the challenges Garda face and the changes he wants to see. He spoke at the GRA conference back in April about wanting to see some kind of legislative change where the law is altered so that there's a higher threshold for Gardaí involved in accidents while on duty, so they aren't judged by the same bar as you or I or any other road user if they're involved in an accident in the course of their duty. He's also said that he wants to roll out more training and pursuits for Gardaí. Currently, there's specialist units who are trained in pursuits and interventions. That's the emergency response unit, the armed support unit, and certain traffic Gardaí. He says that he wants this rolled out to more Gardaí units across the country, not just those specialist units, but there are issues with the EU presence at the moment that's draining a lot of Garda resources. And he said a number of weeks ago that they simply can't do this at this stage, and it's something they'll have to look at in the new year. And to be honest, from talking to people on the ground, that's something that cannot come soon enough.
Yeah. So also, what he isn't saying is he's not saying it's a resourcing issue in terms of boots on the ground or boots in the patrol cars. He's saying there is a training issue there. Yeah, fine, that's a resource matter, but also hand in hand is the legislation, the I suppose the indemnification of a Garda who is involved in a pursuit if there is a serious accident, the amount of powers that an individual Garda has in terms of decision making at the time. That's actually a government issue, is what he's saying there.
Definitely part of it, yeah. Like that real focus on the legislative change. At the time, he said that he's spoken with the Department of Justice about it. He's asked the senior assistant commissioner to develop a policy around that. So it does really focus on the law needing to be changed, where you don't have Gardaí, being um, held to the same standard as other road users. They are understandably, given their line of duty, going to engage in instances where there are high risk manoeuvres in some cases. I don't think it should be just there should be no oversight. There shouldn't be any kind of standards set for them, but there has to be equated with their duties to ensure that the public are saved from individuals who are using the road networks and roads around the country and just driving in completely reckless manners.
Now, Rob, the Garda Commissioner also referenced social media. His point being that this practice of engaging in dangerous driving, sometimes of stolen cars, it's been done basically for social media likes. Does he have a point here?
He definitely does. And if you go through any social media app, particularly the likes of TikTok, on a regular basis, you'll see these young lads, two of them involved in that fatal collision Sunday, Kamil Pustkowski and Jack Kennedy. They've posted on their own social media accounts, using their own aliases, their own names, and shared videos engaging in high risk behaviour. Jack Kennedy shared a video of him in a car driving the wrong way down a motorway in recent days. Kamil Pustkowski has also shared videos of him engaging in car thefts, engaging in dangerous driving incidents, and that's gone back for several months. So, this is long-term behaviour by these two individuals, and not just two people, and it is really widespread. And, every night of the week, if you scroll through those social media apps, you'll see these young people boasting, bragging about their own criminal behaviour.
Yeah, and is there any prospect that basically the events of Sunday morning will change that attitude, or do you think this problem is going to linger and uh, it's just going to need to be tackled by Gardaí one way or another?
you'd like to think it makes some kind of difference in some way to teenage young lads who, see something like this. They see their friends dying in completely horrendous circumstances, and they might think better of it the next time. The reality is that unfortunately might not be the case. In some of the tributes shared with these young lads in the last few days, last few hours, there's been posts about their exploits, posts about them, involved in taking cars, pictures of some of them involved in the theft of cars. One tribute to one of them shared his balaclava that he used in a recent crime and had passed on to his friend. So they're kind of being eulogised in the way they lived their lives in recent weeks and months, for the criminality they committed. So if you have those kind of tributes being paid where they're acknowledging and eulogising their criminality, the people doing that, their friends, are very unlikely to kind of stop, think, and maybe see the serious consequence involved in actions like that.
Okay, Robin Schiller, thanks so much for that update.